Well, you wanted rain, Tony. You got it.
Yep, this is a very, very good start. It is the perfect rain to get. If you compare this to what the North Island had, for example, where they're getting 30 and 40 millimetres an hour, large amounts of that rainfall just simply ran off the source.
We've got to give them our sympathy.
We do have to give them our sympathy. I mean, it's a terrible rainfall event to get. I mean, they were desperately in need of rain, but not at 30 or 40 millimetres an hour because it ran off. It took everything with it. Fences get wiped out. It's just those are terrible rains to get. The rain that we're getting on the east coast parts now is the perfect rain. It's arriving at sort of 2 or 3 millimetres an hour. It's gone on now for 30 something hours, and it's all going into the ground, which is a very, very good start for what I talked about when I was last on the program. We've got these very depleted groundwater levels all over Canterbury and parts of the eastern North Island as well.
It's a big start, but only a small step.
It is only a small step. I mean, if you look at the rainfalls we've had so far in the Canterbury region, it's everything from about 35 millimetres up to about 55 millimetres. If it goes on for another day or so, then we might, those 55s might turn into 60s and 65s, and the 35s will turn into 40s. But it's a great start. It means that for it to happen in March, it means that we can then hopefully look forward to some more substantial rainfalls in that May and June period to give us some recharge back into the groundwater system.
Will it have stopped some people irrigating?
There will be there will be some areas of certainly if you go to the North Island, for example, definitely don't need to irrigate again. Probably in the Waikato Bay of Plenty, Pukekohe, those sorts of areas. I think they're probably done.
Yeah, I reckon.
They've probably actually lost soil off there and taken some crop with them. Certainly in the Hawke's Bay area, I think there's large areas of the Hawke's Bay area now that we're done with irrigating. Crops will get through. You've got to remember we're almost at the equinox. We're only 8 or 9 days away from the equinox now, so that's 12 hours day, 12 hours daylight, 12 hours night, and then we're on the downward swing from there on. And demand has started to drop off a lot. So you get your soil profiles full again. We're probably sort of on the better soils. We're probably 20 or so days away from having to irrigate again now. So that will take us into April, which means that you'd have to have some amazing weather to be enticed to irrigate again on those deeper soils everywhere. That takes some pressure off the irrigation. You're never far away from a drought on the rest of the stony soils around the eastern parts of New Zealand, and especially here in Canterbury. We'll wait and see what happens after this rainfall finishes and whether we go into another dry spell and get some very, very, very warm temperatures again.
Has it caught many cropping farmers?
A lot of the harvest is done. If you go into the southern parts of Canterbury, north of Otago, there's still a bit of cereal around that hadn't been harvested. And we're sitting around now waiting to do radish and carrot seed and red clover and a few other bits and pieces. But most of the crops are in, done, dusted, and those crops that are left, we're looking for some lengthy settled periods actually to harvest things like, especially things like hybrid radish and the hybrid carrot seeds. They're relatively slow to harvest in the field, and we're going to need some longer stable periods of weather to be able to harvest them and make a good job of them.
And I guess some of the grape growers will be wanting some sunshine.
They'll definitely want sunshine. This has not been, particularly in the South Island, this has not been a great vintage to date. The raisin, the ripening process is all over the place. In central Otago, for example, they're dropping crop to try and get their crop loadings down so that they can enhance that ripening process. When you get down to 3 or 3.5 tonnes to the hectare, that's not a lot of wine coming off those areas. So they just want some really nice settled Indian summer weather now. Warm days, cool nights, bring up the flavours, bring up the colours, and then they can crack into it at Easter. Yep.
You make it sound so simple, but you know, Mother Nature's not necessarily going to listen to Tony Deveron.
Absolutely not. I mean, even if you go into Central Otago, they had a pretty cool day over the weekend and some rain, so they probably didn't really want that, but you can't dial it up, I'm afraid.
No. Your thoughts on underground reserves now?
Yeah, look, they're still extremely low. This rainfall will not give us any recharge to the groundwater. I mean, there's no question there. I mean, our deficits are too large. We're looking. This is a great start to get the soil profile, the root zone of most of the pastures and crops, get them back to field capacity. It's the follow-ups that we get from now until into the May-June period that will actually give us the recharge into the groundwater system. So, great start, long way to go.
Any thoughts on snowfall? Because is anybody like NIWA predicting snow?
Haven't seen any of those predictions yet. The predictions, the last 3 month forecast, I think it was out, was still for above average temperatures. So it's a bit early to start thinking about that. Snow in May goes away anyway, Rob.
Yeah, but I love the way that NIWA, bless their hearts, will say a normal or just below normal, whatever the hell normal is.
Yeah, we're not sure about normality, so. This is certainly not normal for us. If you look at where this rainfall event came from, wasn't the tail end of a tropical cyclone. It just it's an unusual event, and our hearts do go out for the people in the North Island with the intensities like they had. They were the killers.
And that was pretty widespread up there.
It was very widespread up there. Yeah. So, but yeah, great start. Long way to go.